Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. I can't believe that we have hit July already. I don't know if anyone else is feeling like this, and I know I've said it a number of times on the podcast, but how quickly is 2019 going? It feels like 2019 is going so much quicker than 2018, and I don't know whether that's because I decided to load up my workload so that I was really busy while Sam was away, and that means that I've got a lot to do at the end of this year, or whether it's because I'm turning 30 in 2.5 months, which is a scary possibility. You know, maybe it is. Maybe it's the 30 thing. Maybe the year that you are 30, everything just goes so quickly. But I remember as a kid, you know, people would often say to me, oh, everything will go so fast, you know, the year passes so quickly. And I'd be sat there and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm just waiting for the summer holidays to kick in. Like, how hard can it be? So we are finally here. We are in July, and it's been an interesting start. So obviously I usually record podcast episodes a bit ahead, and my week this week has been, you know, pretty interesting, and it's led me to think about recording this episode, which if you are not entertained by the title, then I'm sorry, but also it's so true. And if you have kids or dogs or just pets in general, then you will know that they are the best salespeople. And I got to thinking about this actually yesterday, because as I was sat yesterday on about 8 hours of coaching calls, I had Max just sat next to me. In fact, exactly where he is right now. And about halfway through the day, he wanted to climb on my lap. And Max does this thing whenever Sam goes away, he gets very sad. He's very sad. You know, he feels like he wants to go and sit by the door all the time. I left Sam's gym bag on our ottoman in the bedroom this time around. And so Max just goes off and he goes and sits by it sometimes. And he gets sick, right? Every time Sam goes away, Max gets sick. Usually involves a very expensive vet trip where we find out that basically nothing is wrong. He's just sad. So Max is sat on my lap after wheedling his way on there. And I'm just in between client calls. I've got about 2 minutes to, you know, grab a drink of water, and he opens his mouth and is sick all over my trousers. Now, I'm guessing that if you have kids or dogs or cats or anything that, you know, can projectile vomit on you, that it has happened and that you've not been massively happy about it. So in my 2 minutes that, you know, between clients where really I should have been going for a wee and, you know, getting myself a cup of tea and all that kind of stuff, I spent cursing the fact that he had vomited on one of my favorite pairs of lounge trousers. And then I got on my client call, and the dog, because at that point, after the vomiting has occurred, he stops being Max and he is the dog. He sat next to me and he's looking at me and he's kind of pawing at my lap, and he wants to get on my lap, and I'm shaking my head at him. No. Silently. And he keeps going and he keeps going. And so, you know, I let him on my lap and he sits there throughout the duration of the client call perfectly fine. And as soon as the call stops, he's sick all over my second pair of jeans. Now, this is a pattern that repeated pretty much all afternoon. And by the end of it, I literally, as the lazy entrepreneur that I am, realized I literally have 0 other clothes at this point that the dog can be sick on. Everything I own is now in the washing machine, and I am relegated to wearing shorts in the rain. So if anybody saw me going to my local supermarket in a pair of shorts that evening in the rain, I'm not crazy. It was just that everything else I own is covered in dog vomit. Glamorous. I just want to point out here how glamorous the life of an entrepreneur can be. So there comes a point, I think, in this story where people are already thinking, but Jess, if he'd been sick on you once, like, why did you even let him back onto your lap? And that brings me to this episode, okay? Persistence, and why your pets and your children are the best salespeople that you will ever meet, or sales pets that you will ever meet, and what you can actually learn from them. Because kids and pets, honestly, are the best sales creatures that I've ever met, and there are a few key important lessons that I want you to learn and want you to take away from them. So the first is obviously persistence. Persistence is a big thing. in the sales world. And it's really interesting to me at the moment, we have just reopened applications for Evolve. So if you haven't yet applied, if you haven't gone and checked out what the Evolve program looks like, make sure you head over to the website. The link is in the show notes. You can go and check out exactly what Evolve is like and the kind of results that the first round people, or the first wave of people, have already had. But it's something that was really interesting to me. So obviously we opened up the Evolve sales page not long ago, only a few days ago now. And we have people who applied last time and who were told, no, actually there are other things that you need to go away and do, who have reapplied this time and who have persisted. They've actually taken the action and they've sent another application and said, do you know what? I'm persisting with this. This is a program that I really, really want to be part of. And here's my new application. And I did really go and listen and take the feedback from last time. And that makes me really happy. And it also makes me about 89% more likely to say yes to these people, because ultimately they've demonstrated that they will persist, they will take feedback, they will move forward, they will use it, they will take it constructively instead of taking it personally. And actually that persistence sets people in really good stead when it comes to selling. And it's massively, massively underrated. When we think about business building, when we think about selling, we often get caught up in this idea that it's all about complicated strategies and that it's all got to be challenging and difficult and then we've got to do new things all the time. But actually, you know, when it comes to sales, it is a lot of it about just being persistent and keeping on when you don't really feel like it. Now, it's a really interesting thing for me. I'm somebody who always says breakdowns before breakthroughs. And one of the things that's come up both from my mastermind and from Evolve more recently has been people going through launches. And we recently had one of the Evolve members who shall remain nameless, but we recently had one of our Evolve members who went through this really tough launch process, like super tough. And, you know, sometimes you have launches that are just really easy and they work and people buy things and you're like, yay, this is awesome. And other times you have those launches that literally make you want to pull your hair out and scream at everything that comes into contact with you. And this particular Evolver was having that kind of launch where, for whatever reason, things weren't going as anticipated. There were tech issues. People weren't buying like they were expected to. Engagement was down, like just all of these kinds of things. And any normal human being at that point would have been perfectly justified, as they were closing the cart, not having had the launch that they wanted, to go, oh, do you know what? Screw it. I am done. And just drink all of the wine, hide under a rock for a few weeks, you know, lick their wounds and, you know, hopefully come back in a month's time and try again. But this particular Evolver didn't do that. They asked for constructive feedback in the group and said, okay, what can I do? What can I do to change the situation? I feel crap. So, you know, I'm not necessarily going to action any advice today, but what can I do to move forward? And so we gave them, you know, different ideas and different things. And one of the things that I suggested was to go out and book some discovery calls, like talk to your audience. And this person would have been completely within their rights to go, do you know what, Jess, I just don't feel like it, thanks. Like, I'm done. My audience don't want to engage with me. And I feel like I just can't be bothered to offer them any more opportunities to talk to me. And instead they didn't. They went out there, they offered the calls and they booked 22 discovery calls in 4 days the very next week. Okay, 4 days. Can you believe it? If you had 22 discovery calls, how happy would you be? Like, I'm just going to throw that out there. The most I've ever had book in one period of time was 35. But if you had 22 discovery calls, imagine how much that would change like your business and, you know, your revenue quite possibly. And anyway, the big thing here is not the fact that, you know, I want to brag on my Evolvers, always I do, but it's the fact that this person could have just completely let it go. They could have been like, I'm done, I'm over it, whatever, I'll launch something new maybe in a few weeks' time. And they didn't. They kept on, they persisted. And that is paying off big time. You know, it's paying off in the results that they are now getting. And it does come down to that breakdowns before breakthroughs. So there is an element to this. And when you watch, and I always reference dogs and cats do this as well. But animals are really persistent. Okay, they're really persistent about what they want. I know, for example, that if Max wants to go for a walk, there is literally nothing that is going to stop him running to the balcony door, running to the front door, going and standing and barking at his lead, just showing all of these examples of why you should never get a Chihuahua. But he does everything in his power repeatedly, and he really persists so that he knows that I know, yes, he needs to go out for a walk, and I'm going to make that happen within, the next sort of like 10-15 minutes. I also sound like a really bad pet owner. I'm just going to throw it out there. He does have regularly scheduled walks. Sometimes he just likes to go out and bark at his reflection in the local scaffolding. So, these aren't necessarily 15 minutes that I'm making him wait so that he can, go out and do actual dog things. These are just times that I'm making him wait so that he can, not act like a psycho in public. But this is it, and cats do the same. Whenever we go and stay with Sam's parents, one of the things that makes me laugh is that his mum has 4 cats and I love them. And I think that they're great, and they're all fairly old now. And one of them, Socks, she refuses to have her dinner anywhere other than on the side, right? She, all the other cats, they eat on the kitchen floor and they have the dinner there. But there is this one particular side in their house where Socks eats her dinner, and you have to put it there. And even now, as she's getting older and she finds it more difficult to jump, she literally refuses to eat unless you put her food in a specific spot. And she's really persistent with it. The other great habit that I actually really like that Socks has, maybe she's just got a really big personality, is that when we stay there in the room that we always stay in, she has this little habit of about 11:30 at night, she'll creep into the room and she'll hop onto the bed right at my feet. And she'll sleep there quite happily the whole night, and it's lovely. I get to keep my feet warm. She gets to have her little spot on the blanket, all good. And at about 5 a.m. every morning, she does this like cat/army crawl thing. I don't know whether you have a cat, but she does this cat/army crawl thing where she kind of crawls up the bed and she does this little meow. And Socks doesn't really have a proper meow, so she does this kind of like thing. I know that as Scott is editing this, he is going to just be dying laughing, but that's my cat impression, just of that one cat. And she does this and she kind of nudges your chin so that you will stroke her at 5 a.m. Now, if you've ever come in after a New Year's Eve, you've been hungover, or you've been on an anniversary meal out and you're hungover, see the theme here. 5 a.m. with a cat like nudging your face and like hitting you with their paw and trying to make you stroke them is not necessarily ideal. But every single time she gets the stroke, she gets the cuddle, because she is persistent. She doesn't just do it once and bugger off. Like, she does it consistently. She's very, very persistent about it. And so as a result, she knows that, sometimes it's going to take her 5-10 minutes to really wake me up enough that I'm actually physically capable of doing what she wants, but it's going to happen. And this is the same thing with sales. You've got to be persistent in certain parts of the sales process, especially things like the follow-up, and that's really important, that when we are following up, we do what we say we will. If you're telling people, I'm going to follow up with you on Thursday, so please, have your decision or any extra questions by then on Thursday, first thing, that's what you need to be doing. Because when we persist, we show people that we are going to show up for them, that we have integrity, that we are going to act in the way that we say that we will, that we are reliable. Persistence doesn't mean be really annoying. Don't be the equivalent of the cat at 5 a.m., but really give people clear boundaries around what you're going to do and when, and actually do those things. Okay. Now, the other thing is that kids animals don't really have this because they lack the power of speech, but kids do this really, really well. And I was babysitting one of my friend's children recently, and they're about 4. They're going through the why phase. Again, if you're a parent, I imagine that your heart is sinking or thinking backwards like rose-tinted glasses. I don't know. But I was babysitting them recently, and every other question was why. And so I would say things like, would you like to get an ice cream? And instead of like a normal child going, oh my goodness, yes, they would go, why? And I would have to say, because you really like ice cream and I thought you might like to eat one. Why? Why did I think that you would like to eat one? Well, because ice cream is really sugary and your mum doesn't let you have it that often, so I thought you might enjoy it. Oh. And then they would go, why? And it was like every single question or every single statement had about 5 whys come after it. And we got into some very deep philosophical discussions very, very quickly, including, did God invent ice cream? And also some real deep questions about why the world was invented. Again, children, they are terrifying. Terrifying creatures. But it was a really, really good exercise. And it really reminded me of how we forget to dig down in the sales process, particularly when we're on discovery calls with people, or if you're working with corporate companies around that information gathering discovery phase. And it's really important because a lot of the time we'll just take what somebody says at face value. So if a client says to you, or a potential client says to you, yeah, I just want to make more money, you can't always take that face value, because sometimes you have to dig into, well, why do you want to make more money? Because it might be that they want to make more money just overall over the next year, because they want to hit a certain goal, or they want to live a certain lifestyle. Or it could be more important or more urgent. They could be wanting to make a certain amount of money right now because they have a particular cash flow issue, or they've got something going on in their life that requires an immediate cash injection. So it's important to actually dig down into those questions. And again, it's not to be annoying. You know, we've all been in those sales processes, and I don't know who teaches it, and it really, really bugs me, where they ask 3 whys after every question. So they'll say, and what's your goal? And you might say, I don't know, I want to hit 6 figures a year. And they'll go, and why? And you'll say, because, you know, it's the level at which I would consider my business to be a real business. And they'll go, why? And you'll go, because that's the money that I want to make, because after taxes, then I'll get to pay myself a decent amount. And then they'll go, why? And you'll be like, because I want to eat and pay my mortgage. And you start to get quite frustrated by it. So it's not something to be used, you know, 3 or 4 times after every single statement, but definitely dig in on key points on the discovery call. You know, why is it that people perhaps haven't succeeded with coaches or consultants before working with you? You know, are there any red flags that you need to consider there? Why is it that people are looking and feeling like they might be being ready to work with you right now? Why is now a good time? That's something that can really help when potential objections come up later on around, oh, well, I need to go away and think about it. I'm not sure that now's the right time. If they've already told you why now is the right time for them, then you can go back to them and just remind them of that and help them come out of that fear process. So asking why is something that's, again, massively, massively underrated, but actually really, really useful when it comes to selling, and actually digging into the real reasons, the real outcomes that your clients or potential clients are looking for in working with you, in talking to you. And it comes into play as well on market research. You know, when we're doing our market research, often as salespeople, as business owners, we can get so caught up in what we want to sell and having a great time and being like, oh, I just want to go out there and launch this course or run this event or do this retreat or whatever, that we actually forget to ask our audience, what do they want and why do they want that? You know, asking them the question from a market research perspective about what is it that they're particularly struggling with right now is good, and it will get you the answer that you want. It will help you frame what they need to do next. But if you go another step, so when people answer your questions, say you put out there, okay, what's the biggest thing that you're focusing on over the next 90 days? And you give them a choice: list building, sales calls, or cash injections. And they say list building. If you ask them why, okay, why list building? And they say, oh, because I've exhausted my current warm audience, you know, oh, right, okay, so they're looking for new qualified leads. They're not just looking for vanity metrics. If they say, oh, because, you know, I've been told that I need to get more people in my audience before I can start selling, you can actually counter that and let them know, okay, well, that's not necessarily the case. So what do you have now? So asking why is going to really benefit you, and it's actually going to make your prospective clients and your real clients, the ones that are paying you currently, feel like you actually take an interest in what they're doing. You know, not just necessarily giving them advice and telling them what to do or giving them another strategy, but actually digging into what you really want to achieve, what your particular goal is, and helping you reach that. And then the final thing that kids and pets unanimously are really good at, that massively benefits salespeople, is resilience. Ever heard that phrase, kids just bounce back? My mum used to say this to me as a kid all the time. She'd be like, kids just bounce back from anything. And it was true. You know, as a kid, you could be really upset about something, and then 2 minutes later, you'd be fine. I remember a particular Christmas, I was really, really upset. I'd been part of, I think it was like the Brownies or something for, I don't know, a year. And we were supposed to be going on this amazing Christmas trip to the Panto. I was very excited about it, couldn't wait. Loads of other kids had had chicken pox in the month prior to this. And I'd never had chicken pox. I was about 8 or 9, I think. I'd never had chicken pox. And whenever kids got chicken pox, my mum used to send me to their house and be like, just go and sit with them, breathe their air, lick their glass while they're not looking, so that I would get chicken pox and not shingles as I got older. And I just never got it. And anyway, all these kids had this chicken pox. I hadn't caught anything. And I woke up on the morning of the panto and surprise, surprise, of course I had chicken pox. And I was devastated. I was really, really devastated that I wasn't going to go to the panto. But, you know, kids bounce back. About an hour later, I was fine. My mum, you know, stuck a film on, I think. And, you know, we played board games and I was, you know, didn't mind at all, didn't bother me. And actually, this idea of resilience, this idea of being able to bounce back or adapt and adjust is really important when it comes to selling. It's interesting for me because so many entrepreneurs and business owners and even professional salespeople, they worry so much about ruining things the first time round or failing at things the first time round. And I always think that that's quite an interesting position to take on life in general, but particularly sales, because nothing is insurmountable. You know, nothing is beyond fixing. And it's so interesting for me that people will often think, okay, well, if somebody says no on a discovery call, they're a no forever. And we used to get taught this in the corporate sales world all of the time. You know, my boss would always say, just, you know, keep calling. And I remember the first time I ever lost out on a deal to somebody else, and I was devastated. You know, they picked somebody else's, another company's solution over mine. I'd done a great pitch. I felt like it had gone really well. I was really excited about it. I was basically sat there with a bottle of wine on my desk, like, I can't wait. I'm going to pop the cork as soon as they say yes. And when the client phoned me and just said, oh no, we've decided to go in another direction, I was like, what? What? And I couldn't understand. And it really knocked my confidence. I'd done my very best and it still wasn't good enough. And that really, really knocked my confidence for about 2 hours. I did then go to the pub. I got incredibly drunk and I woke up the next morning thinking, okay, maybe I can't be 100% sure on opportunities anymore, but I'm still going to give it my all. And I remember my boss coming in and he was like, Jess, yesterday was crap. Like, I'm really sorry that happened. We thought it was a dead cert. And then he went, what are you going to do about it? And I kind of looked at him and I was like, well, there's nothing I can do. Like, they've said no, end of story. And he looked at me and he said, there's always something that you can do. And so I remember I emailed the client and I said, hey, look, you know, I appreciate you probably don't have tons of time to give me feedback on the sales process now that you've gone with somebody else, but I'd love to check in with you in a week's time and just see how that company are getting on and how their solution's working out for you. And the client emailed me back very nicely. I was very young at the time, so they emailed me back and they were really nice. They were like, look, Jess, you know, we think it's going to really work out with this company, so you don't really need to ring us. Can't guarantee that I'll be around. But I did. And I rang every week for 8 weeks. And 8 weeks later, the solution at the other company did work out for them. Right? Okay, this isn't one of those stories where mountains were overcome and they decided to go with me instead. That doesn't generally happen in the sales world. But, you know, they said to me, you know, this company's done really well, like the project's going really well. We're probably going to finish up in, you know, 2 weeks time or whatever it was. But because you've called us every week and because you've been really nice about it, you haven't been pushy, you've just been trying to find out what's going on and things like that, we've got other opportunities coming up. Would you like a shot at those? And of course I said yes. And some of them I won and some of them I didn't. You know, if we're honest, you can't win everything. But it was being able to be resilient that put me in that situation that I could call them. I wasn't embarrassed by the fact that I had quote unquote lost. I wasn't frustrated at the company for picking somebody else over me. I wanted to learn from the experience, and that allowed me to be resilient as opposed to, as opposed to bitter. And that's the thing, you know, when you are truly resilient about opportunities, you don't mind if people say no. You know, obviously we always want people to say yes. We are attached, especially as business owners, to the outcome. You know, we want people to pay us, we want people to buy from us. But when you're truly resilient, when people do say no, you don't take it personally. You detach from it and you look at, what can I learn from the situation, or what opportunity is this showing me, or what opportunity is available for me now? And so you bounce back much quicker and you look at, what else can I do to either protect other opportunities that I have in play, or to do something about this opportunity? Is there an element that I can reignite? Is there something that I can salvage from this? Is there another opportunity in play, like my client who did eventually have other opportunities? But having true resilience, it's not about being embarrassed, it's not about being frustrated, it's not about, avoiding that potential client everywhere on the internet to all intents and purposes for the next 6 months after you've had a discovery call because they said no. It's really about checking in. It's about digging in. It's about, what can I learn from this experience? Were they the ideal client? And if they were, what did I miss this time? What did I not get right? Showing up in exactly the same way and really showing who you are as a person. And again, it goes back to that kind of piece that we talked about when it comes to persistence. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. True resilience is about doing all of those things, even if it doesn't work out in the way that you want it to. It's about still showing up. It's about not looking at lost opportunities and using them as a reason to hide away. It's about using them as a learning lesson and thinking, okay, great, what can I do now? What can I learn from this? How can I move forward and be better next time? So there you go. Those are my learning lessons from kids, from pets, all about sales, and the 3 biggest skills that I really do think that we can learn from children and animals about selling, and the kind of biggest things that we can take away from them. Now, obviously, I have mentioned a couple of times throughout the episode, Evolve is now open again for applications. You can go to the link in the show notes. You can look at what Evolve is and how it can help you either scale your business to 6 figures and beyond, or to the 250K mark and beyond within the next 12 months. So if that's something you're interested in, if you're interested in genuinely taking your business to 6 figures and beyond, or to £250,000 and beyond, that's a real tongue twister for me today, then make sure that you go hit the link and you can apply to be part of Evolve if that's something that you're interested in. Every application will get some feedback from me as well. So if the program is not right for you, I will tell you. And if it is right for you, then guess what? You get to hop on a call with me. Yay! And have a personal chat about your business and about your personal action plan to help you hit that 6-figure or 250K mark within the next 12 months. So make sure you do go ahead, go to that link and make sure you pop in your application. The current participants even inside Evolve have experienced some phenomenal results over the last 4 months. Including signing £15,000 worth of corporate contracts within the first 6 weeks, including over £90,000 worth of sales in a very short time period, having their best quarter ever, launching, having successful launches, and overcoming challenging ones. So I hope you have an epic week. I hope to see your Evolve application in my inbox, and I will see you on Friday, where we have a super special guest. On Friday, we actually have the lovely Danielle Kunkel Roberts, and it's a really, really interesting episode. So I will catch you then. Have a great day.